All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome. This is the Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast, and you're in for a special treat today. We're interviewing a local investor here in the St. Louis market who's doing big things all over the country. And we're going to be talking to Robert Heyder from Core Properties. And I'm glad he's here. First things first, guys. Got a couple books I want to give away to you for free. One of them is Wholesaling Lease Options, and the other one is called REI Secrets. Daily nuggets of real estate investing wisdom to help you get more leads, close more deals. Each of these chapters are about 2 to 3 pages long, all killer, no filler, and you can read one each day, like this one, How to Wholesale Deals as an Agent. What's that all about? So I designed these things to just be quick little daily nuggets of wisdom that you can read, get some inspiration, get some ideas on how you can actually get out there and close more deals, get more leads, close more deals. And this one tells you how to flip lease options. You can get both of them for free. If you go to WLO Book, get this one, WLObook.com. And you can get this one at REISecrets.com. Highly recommended. And they're free. You just pay a little bit of shipping and handling, and I'll send them out to you, okay? And if you're listening to this on iTunes, I appreciate you guys leaving a review. Subscribe to the show. Leave a review. Love to you see how it's going, what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. I think you can also leave reviews on Stitcher. I'm not sure if there's any other podcasting platform that lets you leave reviews, but I really, really appreciate you leaving some reviews. And cool. I got one more thing for you. I just announced this to some people on my list who have some of my courses the other day. I have a book I did called Making Extra Money Flipping Houses While on Vacation that came from a video I did from a mutual friend of ours. Jason Medley. You know him, Robert, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
He interviewed me. I did this video. I just got back from either Prague or our RV trip. I think it was Prague. And he just interviewed me, and I opened up my everything to say, this is how I do deals while traveling. And he turned it into a book called Making Extra Money While Flipping Houses on Vacation. And I also did an all-day Saturday workshop on how to do lease options. And I'm giving those away for free for anybody who wants to leave me a review. And this is how it works. You have to get your phone, get your smartphone, and go to reviewjoe.net. If you're from your phone, go to reviewjoe.net, and it'll open up a window where you can record just a quick video testimonial. And let me know what you think of the podcast, of the books, of the courses, of the coaching, of the whatever. Like, if anything I've done that's helped you, I'd love to hear about it. And if you go to reviewjoe.net from your smartphone, Android or iPhone, doesn't matter. Go to reviewjoe.net. You leave me a video review. I'd really, really appreciate it. And as a way to say thank you, I'm going to send you access to that book and also the all-day Saturday workshop video series on how to flip lease options. All right. Sorry for the long introduction, Robert. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
I'm glad you're here, man. And it looks like you're in a hotel room. You're in, where are you right now?
I'm in Las Vegas. Yeah, Las
Nice.
Vegas here for a mastermind. Yeah.
Oh, I love masterminds, right? And we used to be in one together, Collective Genius. Am I right?
Kind of. I went to a few of the different events. I was never really in the group, but I did go to a few of the events, and then we met at I think Sean Terry's event a while back too.
That's right.
We were there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not in Collective Genius anymore either. Not for any bad reason. I just got tired of traveling so much, and so I like St. Louis. Don't you?
Yeah. St. Louis is great. It's I'm still at that phase where I kind of like traveling from time to time, but no, I definitely do like St. Louis. I like you get your Cardinals hat on, big Cardinals fan.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the crazy thing too. Like I was just in New York City a couple weeks ago with my family. I went to Tampa just the other day for a workshop, and I could literally say almost to all 50 states. And I do travel a lot. And I'm telling you, there's something really, really nice about the Midwest. It's simpler. I was in rush hour traffic the other day, and I couldn't believe how much space was in between the cars when you're coming from New York City. It's just like, everybody's blaring their horns. Tampa's crazy also because it's just – anyway, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I love the Midwest. I love St. Louis, and it's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to invest as well. So can you talk about, Robert, tell us your story. How did you get started in real estate? What were you doing before that?
Yeah, so I was in banking and really wanted to get kind of lightly involved in real estate. I had the goal of of owning a 2-family and leasing one of the units out and having it pay, majority of my expenses. But I got out of college in '04 and moved back to St. Louis in, I think, late '05, maybe '06. And so the market was just on fire. It was crazy. So at that time, I was just really frustrated. I couldn't find any deals. I couldn't find anything that made sense. I really didn't know where to go to even look for it, to find deals. I was just kind of, ticking along there looking for sale by owner signs and whatnot. And so it really kind of put a damper on the jump start. So I really didn't start investing until I think probably late '08 or early '09, after the recession kind of hit and things were, banks were dumping properties and things like that. So yeah, started doing that. I was doing it on the side while I was in banking. And then I quit banking in 2013 and went full-time into real estate investing. Okay,
2013. And what kind of banking were you doing?
I was primarily doing commercial real estate lending, so larger commercial real estate projects. I lived in Chicago for a while out of college and worked for a bank called the Sal Bank, which was the North American arm of the 7th largest bank in the world at the time. I don't know if you remember the LaSalle Bank Chicago Marathon back in the day. No. It's like a big run. But yeah, so I was there for about a year in Chicago, moved back to St. Louis. There was an office in St. Louis. So I came back and was working there. And like our average deal size would have been about, I think, 10 million or so, 10 million plus. And then we got bought by Bank of America. Everyone left, and I followed one of the senior folks from LaSalle to a bank called the Business Bank of St. Louis, and was there for about 5.5 years.
Okay.
Doing mostly commercial real estate there as well. Yeah, back in St. Louis.
Okay, cool. Are you a Cardinals fan or a Cubs fan?
Cardinals fan, yeah, big Cardinals fan.
All right, yeah. We can continue the interview now.
Yeah, I was only in Chicago for a year, and even if I was there for 10 years, it wouldn't have changed.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, though, I lived in Chicago when the White Sox won the World Series. Oh, that was pretty interesting. Yeah,
that's good.
They had the ticker tape parade. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but like in the big city, but like in Chicago, the old buildings, the windows open, and ticker tape, like stock exchange, the ticker tape,
Yeah.
Well, they would give all the folks like this confetti and you throw it out the window, like 30, 40, 50 stories up. It's crazy.
Wow.
It was something.
So like even in Chicago, like when the White Sox won the World Series, were people as excited about it? Like did anybody even show up to the ticker tape parade? Like,
I mean, yeah, turns out there was, it was a pretty crazy crowd, but I think maybe it was just pent up for so long. It's
I was in Chicago speaking at a RIA, talking about real estate. And it was like the week after the Cardinals won the World Series, and this 2011, and I was very, very happy, and I definitely rubbed it in. And I didn't do that well in sales that day when I was selling my course, but I didn't care. Anyway, Robert, so I'm sure that banking experience has helped you a lot in real estate, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it helped. It helped as we scaled into commercial real estate lending, and as we looked at kind of building a rental portfolio and things like that. Obviously, having the banking knowledge helped on that level. It almost maybe stifled me a little bit on the wholesaling side. Trying to get my mind around that, and it's just wholesaling is more of a sales and marketing business, and it took me a long time to realize that you didn't have to add value to create the income. Like it seemed like you had to be doing something, and that might be a Midwestern thing too. Kind of land of broad shoulders. You got to work to make it.
Yeah.
So, but overall, yeah, it absolutely helped.
All right, so talk about you started doing houses at first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was around 2013, 2014?
Yeah, I mean, I was rehabbing houses from about 2009 forward, and was building a rental portfolio while I was in banking. But in 2013, I left banking. I had about 20 rental properties or so, and was rehabbing a couple of houses a year on the side.
Did you have enough income from the rental properties to cover your daily expenses?
No, I didn't. rental properties are it's tough to get that income up to enough to really make it work until you get it to a good quantity. And, it's kind of hot and cold in some degree too with repairs and whatnot. But I did, back then I was listening to Sean Terry's Flip to Freedom podcast a lot. So I was able to kind of set aside enough income to withhold for a year. So I kind of had that set aside
nice.
before quitting. Yeah, that was the goal.
And that's fantastic. A lot of people try to get started wholesaling while they're still working their jobs. And I understand you've got to do that, but it sure is nice when you can have a little nest egg to protect yourself, right? While you're kind of learning the business. How quickly did you pick up the whole wholesaling concept? It was kind of foreign to you. You said a little bit, you didn't understand it needed to be as much of a sales and marketing business, a people business, negotiating with sellers who are in difficult situations sometimes. How was that transition for you?
Initially, like I said, I was doing mostly rehabs, and honestly, I didn't really even know what wholesaling was until maybe early 2012, when I started listening to Sean Terry's podcast, and kind of got some understanding through that. And then I really quit banking before I'd ever really wholesaled a deal. I was just, I was rehabbing. I thought I could make enough money rehabbing houses if I could do, 4 or so a year, and then had some passive income coming in from the rentals and was trying to grow that. And then when I learned about wholesaling through kind of Sean's podcast and started digging into it more, then I realized, okay, well, if all these people can do it, I'm sure I can figure it out, and just wanted to build that as an avenue. I'll tell you what, I did struggle a bit out of the gate, finding the right marketing channels and keeping up with the consistency of mailing and some of those aspects. So it took me probably 18 months to really kind of get in a groove and start getting some legs with it.
What were you trying to do at the time in terms of marketing, getting leads?
At that time, it had been primarily paper mail, just flat out paper mail, and trying to figure out the right lists, and then really kind of understanding the consistency of it, of mailing at least 5, 6, 7 times before kind of evaluating too deep, tracking your numbers so you really know what's going on, and getting the KPIs lined up. And then I think my expectations maybe were a little out of line. It took me a long time to realize that 1% response rate, or half of 1%, was a pretty good rate. I expected it to be a lot higher. But,
yeah, that's frustrating, and it's still right about there today, isn't it? The same.
Yeah, well, for me, it's gone down on the paper mail side. Obviously, some other channels have worked better, but we're at about 1/3% on a response rate on paper mail. But I think we've gotten a lot better, and I say that, and we track it on an annual basis, right? So I bet you if we actually went back, and now that we've gotten a lot better over the years at follow-up, I bet you if I went back and tracked it on a multi-year basis, some of the marketing from 3 years ago, that produces today, I don't go back and re-establish it with every single campaign. So it probably could be higher if I went and looked at it a different way.
Would you agree? If somebody was wanting to get started in the business and they weren't committed to at least 3 to 6 months of consistent direct mail, then you shouldn't even start? Like, just save your money and do something else? Absolutely.
100%. And that was a big piece to get my mind around back then. And now I've absolutely realized that. I mean, we get called on mailers, like I said, that are 2 or 3 years old that folks saved, which blows my mind because I'm sure they've gotten hundreds and hundreds of mailers if they saved mine, But yeah, I mean, it's just, you got to hit the folks at the right time, and you never know when that right time is going to be. And it really, obviously there are, what I've realized now, being in it for a fair amount of time now, is that, you kind of have your niche lists of folks that would typically be a little bit more motivated or be in a position that they'd want to sell sooner. And then you kind of have your broad lists that you're kind of blanket mailing, and really just kind of understanding the difference of those and the quantity of mailers that you need to put out and timing and all of that. But if you're not going to do it, I would say well over 3 times. If you're not going to do it 6, I probably wouldn't jump into it.
Because it's a game of momentum, isn't it? Because a lot of the deals we're doing today are not from the new marketing that we're doing today. It's from the marketing we started 3-6 months ago with that seller.
Absolutely.
Okay, so talk about because the response rate is so slow or small on direct mail. What are you doing with the leads as when they do come in? Are you answering the phones live? Are they going to voicemail?
Yeah, we answer them live. Honestly, we've been digging this really deep because with quantity and as we've been scaling. So we'll buy, our goal was 200 houses this year. We're gonna come up a little bit short. I think when it really shakes out by year end, we'll be about
Congratulations. That's amazing.
well, thank you. Yeah. So we'll be about 180 or so, 182, how it really shakes out at year end. So we're doing a pretty good amount of volume. So we've been answering the phones live for a long, long time, but now we're kind of getting to the point where we've realized that there are peak times where the quantity of calls coming in exceed who we have available, and we've been digging deeper into kind of what those backup channels for answering live are. But to answer your question, yes, I think if you're going to spend the money on mailing,
yeah,
I think do everything you can to answer it live. And I think it's as simple as this: your good competitors are answering live, so you need to, whether you want to or not. I mean, from 99% of the channels, you're probably not, for the folks that are doing bandit signs, probably not answering those live. From the folks that are doing RVMs, they're probably not answering those live, but your real standardized mail marketing channels, you need to answer those live, because we are, and I know the other good folks around the country are doing everything they can to answer them live. I mean, so much so that we're lining up secondary and tertiary live answering sources to make sure that things don't slip through the cracks.
Yeah, very good. About how much mail are you sending a month?
Not as much as you think. Maybe about 8,000 to 10,000 pieces a month.
Okay.
We've been experimenting on a lot of other marketing channels. We've always been big on the web. Just PPC has been a channel that's worked well for us. It is an expensive channel, but we've had good success with it. We've got, I think, more exit strategies on properties than most folks, so we're able to capitalize on leads differently than a lot of people, and so on and so forth. Organic web leads, I know that's not something that a lot of folks in our industry dig into, but at scale, I think it's a really, really good avenue to be in, especially if you're in it for the long game. Social media marketing and whatnot, but so only about 10,000 mail pieces, because we do a lot of other marketing channels.
What are some of your favorites? You mentioned PPC. Is that still?
PPC still works well for us. It's one of our more expensive channels, like I said, but it's a follow-up game too. I think follow-up is one of the biggest things that people drop the ball on that will make up so much of your deal flow. But PPC's been good for us. Social media marketing these days is really starting to work. A year and a half ago.
When you say that, what do you mean? Social media marketing?
Facebook marketing primarily. We're dabbling into Instagram, but haven't had it work too terribly well yet, but I think it will at some point. I think if you dig deep into like what channels your avatar seller is, what age group and demographic, then just kind of find the avenue. I think LinkedIn will work well. We haven't got it up and going yet, but it seems to me with the aging population, folks are moving to senior living, that'll be a good avenue, with kind of targeting their kids, targeting the most responsible children of the aging parents, things of that nature. But Facebook primarily has been our avenue on social.
You've done a really good job of getting of leveraging organic with Google, and like on your website, if you just Google your company name, you see really good reviews from Google. You've got a physical location. It shows your reviews from Facebook. Reviews from your Better Business Bureau reviews are really, really good. And so it seems like you guys are doing a good job with, asking for testimonials and getting reviews from people. And that probably helps a little bit too, doesn't it?
It does. Because, to be totally honest, just like anything, whether it be a restaurant or any other kind of venue, majority of the folks that organically go and put reviews in are the people that were upset about something, and more times than not, whether true or not, but people just, are more likely to talk negative than they are positive. So yeah, we go out and ask for the folks that are happy as much as possible to, just let people know, because especially in the industry, I think a lot of folks kind of think of it as, kind of used car salesmen or fly by night kind of stuff, or, the folks that the roofing companies that come into town every time a hailstorm hits and things like that. So, it's like, hey, if we helped you and you feel good about it and you were happy with the transaction and the relationship, just simply say that, and, we definitely, we go through waves of being active and actively asking, and then, 6 months will go by and we'll forgot to ask, and we'll have to go back and and kind of build it back up. But yeah, it's something that we actively do.
It's funny. Do you know how long you've had that domain, STL Wholesale Homes?
At least 5 years, I would guess.
I think I used to own it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I think I used to own it like back 10 years ago or something.
Oh, is that right?
But I was doing mainly lease options, so I just kind of let the domain die.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good domain. So that's your main website where you're selling your properties, right? It looks like you have join our VIP buyers list, view inventory.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's it then. Yeah, STL Wholesale Homes. Yep.
And so I want to ask you about, like, what kind of homes do you target? What kind of areas or neighborhoods do you like to go after?
Well, I mean, the easiest properties to deal with or to sell on a wholesale basis are the high rental areas, the areas where, if you can wholesale property to a rental buyer, that's an easier transaction in most cases. They buy a greater quantity, know exactly what they want. They don't have to pay a sales commission on the backside, so the spread can be a little bit thinner, a little bit easier to wholesale because they don't, you can cut 5% out of the expenses for the buyer. So, north for St. Louis, North County is a good spot. South City is a good spot. St. Charles County, even parts of South County that still work, like Lima and Afton and those areas. Although, like any of them, the better areas then start to turn, and then, maybe it makes more sense to start rehabbing those homes and you see prices start to escalate. But overall, those are primary areas in St. Louis. But I think that strategy works nationally, just the areas where you have more rental buyers, a little bit easier to sell at quantity.
So, and you're not targeting the really bad areas, like with the properties are selling for $5-10 grand.
No, not really. That's not really our niche. We'll do some areas where they sell for 20 or 25 grand, but Bell Fountain and like Hamley Hills and certain areas in St. Louis. But yes, below that, we're not doing a whole lot. I mean, if a deal sneaks in, as you probably know, with social media and with PPC and web, you can't be quite as targeted to specific areas. So if a deal comes in and it could be something, and we'll go and look at it, with the exclusion of North City, we try and stay out of the really high crime, kind of scary areas. But if a deal for $5 grand sneaks in, we'll probably do it from time to time.
I'm looking at your website here. Is it a REI Black Book website, or do you even know?
I do know the STL Wholesale Homes on this. So we kind of have it, Core Properties STL is our buy side, right? Mm-hmm. That's where sellers are going. STL Wholesale Homes is our sell side. So that the STL Wholesale Homes is a REI Black Book website.
Nice.
Yeah, Josh Harris built it for us when he was kind of working on a consulting basis. So the back end is REI Black Book, but it's customized kind of with our color scheme and some of that. So a little bit different than most of them, but it does definitely work off REI Black Book. Yeah,
very good. And so is that your main CRM?
It's starting to be. We've had Podio for a long, long time. And I think we're starting to kind of get worn out with it. And I've been working with Damon and Josh quite a bit more. And currently working with them to do something to kind of incorporate some of the things that we need at scale into what REI Black Book can do. And they're receiving it well. And I think in the near future, we might have something worked out and kind of rolled out. We're kind of bouncing between both right now, which is not ideal. And REI Black Book's a St. Louis-based company. I'd love to make that work and kind of keep it in town,
Damon's a good guy. I like REI Black Book a lot.
Absolutely.
Okay, so talk about co-wholesaling. A lot of guys bring you deals, don't they? because you've got a good buyer's list. You're an active investor. What percentage of your deals do you wholesale come from other investors, other wholesalers?
You know what? Not as many as I'd like. We've been making a big push to do more of that, and it's starting to work. So I'd say right now maybe 5%, but okay. I would think going into 2020 we're going to be making a much bigger push to do more of that. Our buyer list is growing, especially the more national exposure we get and the more events that we go to, and we're meeting folks from the West Coast in particular that are coming out and looking and getting a lot of the hedge funds that are buying these days. They kind of are starting to work more like commercial real estate companies, where they kind of have preferred groups to go through, so that they're not just kind of getting onesies and twosies. And so building some pretty good relationships with some of the funds that are still buying actively in St. Louis, and I think that'll be a much bigger avenue on the co-wholesaling side than we've been able to kind of leverage in the past.
If you like to travel, it reminds me of a guy I met, and I forget who they were. They were St. Louis investors, and they would hold these meetups every month in California. So they would start a meetup, and they would the title would be different every month, but it was usually along the lines of how to find profitable out-of-town deals that cash flow. How to manage rental properties virtually or across the country or in other states, or how to find good cash flowing rentals that give you 8 to 10% on your money or whatever, right?
Right.
They would go and do these meetups in California. They'd go for a week and do like 4 or 5 of them or more. And they would just teach investors in California how to pick a property manager, how to find the deals, how to rehab them, how to manage them, how to manage the manager. And by the way, if you're looking for somebody to do all this for you, here's a brochure, here's a pamphlet. They had a really nice professionally done booklet talking about the houses they have currently, the inventory that they've sold in the past, and all is really good. And so that's how they would get their buyers, is doing these live events. But yeah, that's something to be said about that. Once you're in the business and you've got good buyers, you start spreading the word around. That's how we were doing. When I was doing the most deals in St. Louis, Rick Hine and I were working together. That's what we did. We just started telling everybody, hey, we've got $1 million burning a hole in our pocket. We need deals. We acted like we were the new hedge fund in town. And we kind of were, because we had so many buyers that had money, right? So people started bringing us their deals. I wanted to ask you about the direct mail that you do. What are some of your favorite mailing lists that you like to get?
Vacants, it's always been a pretty good one to some degree. As lame as it sounds, absentee owner still seems to work really well. I think it's just kind of targeting the right group and the right mail piece. I think understanding something like absentee, if folks have homes, they don't want to walk tenants, they have tenants in there, they don't want to walk you through. So kind of figuring out the right sales phase and how to handle that. Gosh, let me think through this. We still do a fair amount of driving for dollars, actually going out and targeting. I don't know why people don't do that more. And are
you guys doing any cold calling?
We do a little bit. Yeah, that's been an avenue we've been kind of tiptoeing into and figuring it out. We had a couple folks in house, and we've been experimenting with, kind of out of market cold calling groups, like 1,000 calls a day, and some of these different groups that do that. But yeah, and it's a almost like a paradigm shift. It's an interesting lead. It's a different kind of lead that comes in from those. But I think they work pretty well.
You want some advice to save yourself a lot of money?
Yeah.
Hassle.
Let's hear it.
Get your own VA from the Philippines. Does the cold calling for you. Don't let them work for somebody else. Get them from the Philippines. Post a job on Upwork. We're looking for a telemarketer to do cold calls for us. I don't know what tool you use. Maybe Mojo Sells is what we like. And just say you need to have Mojo Sells experience. Or there's like Call Tools is another good one. And just, hire 5 of them, test them, see which ones are the best, and then keep them, let the other ones go. But you need to have somebody working dedicated just for you. And I wouldn't like them work more than on the phone, more than 3 or 4 hours a day. There's a real efficiency drop after they've been on the phone for longer than 3 or 4 hours a day. Then you got them, you can listen to their recorded calls. You can help them, train them, have somebody on your team communicate with them every day, checking in, how did it go, tracking their numbers, listening to their recorded calls. That's what we do. We've got like 45, 50 cold callers right now in the Philippines. We're using about 3 or 4 of them for our own deals in Alabama. And the other 40 or so are working for our students, our coaching clients. And we don't upsell any of that. They pay them directly.
Yeah.
But, you would think this is our fear, like going into Alabama, especially the whole thing of, people down south wouldn't like to hear a foreign accent on a cold call. That's maybe Asian or Filipino.
Right.
And it's been unfounded. It's not a big deal at all. And these guys, they're talented, they're hardworking, they do really, really good work. And all they do is we give them a simple script, and they just try to find somebody that has a house to sell, and then they give us the lead at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that.
And all we're doing is we're calling mainly absentee owners with equity.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me ask you another question. Are you doing anything in small towns, like around St. Louis, Illinois, Missouri?
Not. The short answer is no. Well, I shouldn't say that. If leads sneak in from PPC and non-targeted channels, we'll try and work them. We are not actively at the currently, although I realize that there's a hole and we should be focusing on it. It's just kind of getting it in the timeline to add those new avenues. I think your response rate is going to be substantially better. I think the folks their expectations are going to be different. I think there's probably huge benefits to doing it.
I'm getting more and more excited about small towns myself. I was even talking to Chris Chico the other day, and he does a lot of Facebook ads. He teaches people how to do Facebook ads, and he's been testing this in his own market. He's talking about it on his YouTube channel, so I don't have any problem sharing it. But basically, kind of by accident, it's gotten really, really hard to target zip codes for your Facebook ads, right, or your Google ads even sometimes.
Yeah,
so he just
limited that.
By accident, he just started targeting the entire state of Florida. Facebook Facebook charges you per click, right? So they want to give you as many clicks as possible. You're going to get more clicks in the smaller areas, the smaller towns with less competition for those keywords, right? Mm-hmm. So we started noticing a lot of leads coming in from small towns in the middle of Florida, and he started talking to the sellers, find out that there wasn't much competition for those leads. He started getting them under contract, started wholesaling them, and found it was easier. And then he starts having students that are doing the same thing. And so something I've not done yet, but I really want to look at doing is, instead of just targeting St. Louis or Kansas City or Columbia, some of the bigger cities in Missouri, why not just target the whole state and see what happens? Mm-hmm. And I've been, Larry Goins, did you ever meet him?
Yeah.
It's crazy what he's doing. He's intentionally ignoring the big MSA of Charlotte and going out 3 or 4 counties out all the way around him, doing deals in small towns of like 3,000 or 4,000 people. He says it's easier. It's so much easier, man. He said all you need, his only criteria is it has to have a dirt road, and it needs to be within 30 minutes of a Walmart or a Piggly Wiggly or a Dollar General or something like that. Gets bigger discounts, still sells them just as easily to investors, to a lot of mattress money in some of these towns.
Yeah, that's
something I've been... And he does them. You negotiate them on the phone. We use mobile notaries to go to the house or wherever the seller is. Mm-hmm. And so this is something that we've been doing in Alabama ourselves, and what we're seeing, I'm encouraging a lot of our coaching students to do as well.
No, it sounds fantastic. And I would guess on the buy side it would be much easier. The sell side is what I would assume would be very difficult. How are you guys getting past that?
You'd think so. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. If they have a local newspaper, put an ad in the paper, and signs. A sign in the neighborhood, in the yard. And, usually it's funny, too, you can go and pull absentee owners who have purchased properties in those counties in the last year, right? Mm-hmm. And you can send them direct mail. You can look up their phone number and call them. But there are investors buying houses in these small towns. You can find them. You can call landlords, property managers, and worst case, your last resort, if you wanted, is just hire a realtor to market the homes for you. But most of these, talking to Larry and what we're seeing, it's like, it's amazing. You would think, who would want to buy a property in this little town of 10,000 people? There's people that want to live there and they're looking for another house. So they have the in-laws living with them, and or their 23-year-old kid, and they want to help them get out of the house. So there's a lot of mattress money, and they're buying these properties. Typically we're on the lower end. We're looking for homes at $100,000 or less.
Right.
But it's crazy how well it works, and how fast we're selling them. It's pretty amazing.
Huh.
And just like anywhere market, you start building a buyer's list of people, of investors that are looking for properties there. When you get a house, you can mail all the neighbors. You can mail letters to all the neighbors. Yeah. Anyway.
Wow.
Something to think about.
Do you kind of reverse it where you start looking for the buyers in those towns first, or do you wait to get a deal and then try and find the buyer?
Wait to get the deal. Yeah. And we're buying them at such ridiculous discounts. It's like, it's almost, it's hard not to find buyers because you buy them so cheap.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. So I've learned a lot of this from Larry Goins, who's doing this in North Carolina. And so we started doing it in Alabama and Georgia. And I've not done it in Missouri just because I don't have anybody right now to handle these leads for me. And I don't have time to train a team or hire another acquisitions manager for wholesaling deals. But something to think about.
Yeah.
I think you guys could crush it if you start looking outside of St. Louis into the small towns. No competition. The crazy thing too about that too, a lot of these sellers, they're a lot nicer. They're not getting huge stacks of mail, and they're friendlier.
Yeah.
Anyway,
as you're talking, it's just frustration setting in because it's like, why are we not already doing it? No, I'm with you. I think it's a fantastic way.
Even in Illinois, I know, there's this, I talk about this sometimes. There's kind of like this divide between Illinois and the Missouri side in St. Louis,
Yeah.
And, but yeah, you can still do deals in small towns, Illinois. All right, let's change gears a little bit. You're starting to do bigger and bigger deals, right? And you're starting to actually get into some commercial deals. Talk about that, Robert. Why not just stay with houses for the rest of your life? Why go to other types of real estate?
Well, so on the commercial side, there's a hell of a lot less competition, one, and it's hard to get enough single family rental units or 2 families and 4 families to produce enough income to really have a passive income stream. You got to have quite a bit, and then you've got 100 or 150, and then you've got 150 tenants, and it's we've done everything we could on the single family side to try and get longer term leases, but it's just harder and harder. So much of the competition will do 1-year lease. So you have all of this rollover all the time, and just creates a pain. And then if you buy 20 or 30 single family homes, you're kind of up to a dollar amount in which you're in a commercial realm anyway, in a lot of degrees. You just don't really think you are. You have 30 tenants, and if you've got, let's say they're $50,000 houses, and you own 30 of them, you're at $1.5 million in exposure, right? So, you can kind of get into that commercial realm. And when you start looking at the commercial side in that $1 million to $5 million range, you're kind of at a point where the big guys aren't really playing too terribly much. They want to be at, 10 million plus, the funds and all of that. And then over $1 million or so, you kind of price out a lot of the mom and pops for the most part, maybe $1.5 million. You kind of price out most of the folks. So there's not a whole lot of folks kind of playing in that ball game. And the tenants typically are much higher quality. You've got much longer lease terms, and you can kind of really build up an income stream coming off of those that really makes sense over time. So that's something we've been digging into really deep. And I think we started buying bigger assets in 2016.
What kind of assets?
It was a 25,000 square foot office building. It's in Creve Coeur, Missouri. So it's right across from Monsanto's headquarters there. So we bought that property in 2016, and it was only about half leased. We stabilized it in a few months, and now it's 100% leased. It's leased for another 9 years, and a pretty big check just comes in every month. And it's essentially triple net for the most part, which means that the tenant reimburses us for a vast majority of the expenses. So if real estate taxes go up and insurance goes up, the tenant's responsible for paying that increase, which is another nice little thing that you get on the commercial side that you don't get on the residential side. So there are some avenues there. There's a little bit more complexity to it, but with a little bit of support and building a good team, just like anything else that you do, if you were going to go in another market, you don't know the market, you'd have to reach out to experts there to kind of help explain that a bit. You do the same thing here, right? Brokers and market research can get you a pretty good amount, ramped up pretty quickly. So we've been focusing on that. Like I said, that first deal came in 2016, and now we own and manage about 110,000 square feet of commercial space.
Wow.
Mostly throughout St. Louis. We've got a 35,000 square foot retail and office building, retail and office center in Indianapolis under contract right now. We're closing about 60 days on. Just finishing up due diligence on it right now, and that'll bring us up. And then we've got two other properties in St. Louis under contract. One's about a 21,000 square foot building in Webster Groves, then a 73,000 square foot retail office, kind of pseudo office industrial property in South County, St. Louis.
How do you find these? Are you actively looking for these things, or do brokers bring them to you?
Actively looking. Brokers bring them to us. They don't trade quite as easily, right? And you have a different look. So and a lot of deals are traded off market, but a lot of the same strat. So to answer your question directly, yes, some brokers do, but really how we find them is working through bank connections, and we've been marketing specifically to property owners. A lot of the same things that we do on a day-to-day basis on the residential side work for the commercial side, but almost to your exact point earlier, on the small towns where they're not getting much mail or they're not getting any on the commercial side. So I should specify that they probably are on the multifamily side, with as great in demand that they are. There's many investors that are digging those up. So, but outside of multifamily, office, retail, manufacturing, warehouse, logistics, they're probably getting none, or very little, reach out. So that's been an avenue, and just figuring out where the value adds are, like anything else. All that said, we are not currently wholesaling much. I think that might change at some point. I think wholesaling might be a little bit more difficult with the time requirements, but and finding the buyers and whatnot. But I think it's certainly doable.
So for your financing on these, are you just getting bank financing? Are you creating those special funds to raise private money? Or you're raising capital? Yeah, thus far we've been mostly using bank financing. We are in the process of building out our first fund, kind of a syndication fund. Which, by the way, there's those guys that used to come to those mastermind meetings I did from Illinois. And they're two brothers, and they have a dad who's a lawyer. Yeah, it's Rick. What are their names? Yeah, and I know exactly what you're talking about. The two sons are in the business. They do mobile homes and whatnot. Yes. Have you talked to their dad about helping you create the syndication and all the legal things with that? I have not. That's a really good point. I know he helped Nick do his. He's helped a couple guys. I think Chris Klewine, he helped him create a fund. You should definitely reach out to him. And when he was doing it before, he was very affordable. Interesting. Yeah, absolutely. I've met him 30 or 40 times. So it's silly that I haven't thought of him. But no, it's a great idea. But I can't believe I forgot their names too. Super cool guys. I interviewed them on my podcast before, but I can look it up if you can't find it later. But there's a lot of opportunities out there to raise private money, but you got to make sure you do it the right way, and you need to get an attorney to help you set up the structuring to allow that, right? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've got to be SEC approved. And I think all the states, if not a majority of the states, you have to go through the Missouri Division of Finance or whatever. You've got to get state approval as well, long story short, and just make sure you don't get tripped up. You don't
my understanding is you don't really want to ask for forgiveness with the SEC.
Yes, don't. You just but anyway, he can help you. Definitely.
Perfect.
Look
No,
up
that's
his,
fantastic. I've actually sold his son some houses in South City. But long story short, so we've been digging into building a fund, kind of getting that ball rolling, and then there are a lot of private money groups that will do commercial real estate lending.
Really?
Yeah, more than I would have ever thought. My buddy Greg Harleen, he owns Horizon Trust, but he also owns a private money lending group specifically for commercial real estate lending. He's got about 100 million out, and there are, I think, more of those groups out there than most people think.
Those groups, then, do you use them to provide the down payment money to help you get the bank financing that you need, or do they finance the whole thing?
Well, it's like any hard money lender, but you structure it however it works. I have not used them yet. We've been digging deeper into them. To date, we've either just brought our own money in for the down payment, or we've worked with local friends and family that we know that and then we just create a very simple operating agreement structure. We keep management control and we run the deal, but they come in on a more passive basis with a capital injection.
So the other question I had for you then, with these commercial properties, are you managing them yourself, or do you hire a property manager to manage them for you?
We manage them ourselves, and they are substantially easier to manage in residential. It's very black and white. There are certain hurdles that come up initially, I think specifically with like HVAC, because, heating and cooling in commercial properties is very different than residential properties. But once you understand that, or once you just get a good company to go in and do it and give you a good analysis, specifically during your due diligence is when you want to get through that.
Oh, sure.
It's very simple. The tenants aren't sleeping there. The tenants are there from 7:30, 8 a.m. through 7 o'clock at night or so, typically. So it is not as pressing, and they understand how things work. It's just that their expectations are very often in alignment with what you would think.
Yeah.
And most times, if you just have relatively good communication and set the right expectations, it's a very clean and easy process. And 25,000 square foot building, I've got one tenant. We've got a 15,000 square foot building in South County. We've got 8 tenants. We've got a 10,000 square footer in Wing Haven in St. Charles County. We've got one tenant. So we've got 110,000 square feet of space, and I've got maybe 20 tenants. I think substantially.
What do you have in Wing Haven? I'm just curious.
We just have it's really kind of more of a retail property, but it's actually leased to it's a medevac. It's a essentially helicopter ambulance company. Yeah.
Do you own that building or just part of that?
Part of it. Wait. Are you talking about the big building where their headquarters is? Not that building.
Okay, I was going to say,
an off building.
Yes, right. I know what you're talking about.
It's kind of like where Llewellyn's used to be, and
good for you. I used to, because we lived right by there. Used to go to Llewellyn's all the time. There used to be a coffee shop there, an ice cream shop, a little grocery store. Super cool area.
Yeah.
You guys own that now.
Yeah.
Good for you. Did you buy it? McEagle used to own it, didn't they?
They did, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if they sold it, and we ended up buying it through foreclosure.
Yeah, there's some things happened, and that's a disaster. But anyway, good for you. It's a good, solid area.
No, I love the area. The tenant, that's a triple net lease. The tenant's got 13 years left on the lease, and just kind of set it on the shelf. Yeah, so that one.
Good for you. Small world. I used to work for the guy who owned McEagle when I worked for Parrot
really?
Corporation. Yeah. Is
that Chris? Or no, it's his brother, right?
They have two. There's 2 brothers and a dad.
Okay.
But Joe McKee is the guy who owns Parrot now.
Okay.
Yeah, really good family. Solid, strong family. I like the family a lot. It just ran into some difficult financial things, and not all of them, but mainly. Well, I don't want to talk about it. Anyway.
Sure. So,
yeah. Robert, how can people get a hold of you? You're doing deals. You're I'm sure you're looking for investors. You're looking for people that you can bring you deals to buy. How can people reach you guys?
Yeah, so robertheyder.com, Robert Heyder, HEYDER.com. We just rolled out a new podcast, so that's really the website to the podcast, but it has all my contact information, all my information.
Nice.
And so we're, people have deals, specifically if people like are looking for and want to get into commercial deals, and they have contacts and they find deals and they don't quite know what the next steps are. That's a really good avenue. That's something that we're reaching into. The deal in Indy kind of worked out that exact same way, where they found the deal and they thought it'd be a good one, and we're kind of helping them get through it, and we'll partner with them on the deal.
Nice. So it looks like you just started your podcast a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been in the works for about 6 months, but it just went live actually this week.
Awesome.
So yeah,
good for you.
Very excited about it. I think it's got some pretty good legs, and it's a little bit different than most, where it's kind of talking about scaling a business and getting into commercial real estate investing and kind of bigger picture ideas. But yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and it looks like
what's that?
Your podcast is called Level Up Real Estate Investing.
Correct. Yeah. Taken to the next level, baby.
I love it. Love it. And I might actually even be on your show later on. We'll see.
That's right. Yeah. Get it scheduled. I think,
I keep on canceling it, and it's my bad. It's been a crazy holiday season.
No, I get it. I've been battling a cold for about a month, and I think everyone in my office has, kind of handed it off 2 or 3 times now. So it's been tough.
But you got a good website, corepropertiesstl.com and stlwholesalehomes.com. Thank you for stealing my domain. I let it go intentionally. And robertheyder.com, ROBERT, Robert, HEYDER, Robert Heyder. You got a great podcast, got some videos there. It looks like you've got a really cool free commercial real estate analysis tool.
Yeah.
You're teaching people how to analyze commercial deals, right?
Yeah, first step, make sure the numbers make sense, and then dig into the other aspects. So kind of the jump start into kind of analyzing it.
Well, I'm downloading it right now.
Terrific.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's kind of the initial step. Our goal is to add some additional layers. I've got a kind of Excel, Google Sheet kind of guide to build out some more exciting stuff. So anyone that signs up will have additional layers to that spreadsheet in the very near future here.
Very cool. All right, Robert, thanks for being on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it. Best of luck to you. We should have coffee sometime. And when you get back from Vegas, shoot me a text after the holidays and let's get together.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Joe. I greatly appreciate it. And I look forward to having you on ours. And then I'll shoot you a note and we'll get together, my man.
All right. Take care. See ya.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Stay out of trouble in Vegas, by the way.
Yeah.
It never ends well. It never ends well.
I'm with you. We'll do it.
See ya. Bye.
See ya.